Hello, hello. This is the first episode of What the Sayin', where I, Julia, will be analyzing different sayings for you and hopefully with you. If y'all have any comments or if you've ever heard this saying before and in what context it was gleamed, please let me know. I would love to hear. So the first one today I'm going to do is a little bit obscure. It actually was from a friend, and she told me about this last night. It was very Yoda wise of her to say this. Okay. She was saying, okay, so context. I am pre qualified and looking for my first home, and I'm very nervous about it. And she said to me, remember, as Whitman describes in Song of Myself, the arrow doesn't find the target is still and draws the arrow. That sounds like a saying enough, right? So I looked this up naturally, like everybody else in the world that has internet access. I looked this up immediately before I told her I didn't get it because I want to save face, right? I looked up Whitman's poem. I did a search on the keywords of arrow. I could not find any reference to arrows or targets within this particular poem by Walt Whitman in the 1800s. So maybe she gleaned the saying and the concept of it from, a passage written on it, on the particular poem. I don't know. It's a great poem. It's pretty long. You can check it out if you want. The Song of Myself by Walt Whitman. So I didn't find that, so I looked again. I did another search, and I landed on the Archer's paradox, which is kind of a physics concept about how an arrow travels to a particular target. I was thinking, okay, this does not seem like it's connected to the saying in any way or the message. And so I finally just gave up and wrote her back, I don't get it. And so we had a long trail of text messages from there. And she wrote back, be the target. Now, I don't know about you, but most of the time when you hear about targets and arrows and sayings about motivation or inspiration, it's be the arrow, right? It's be the dynamic aspect of what the saying is. Maybe that's an opinion. Maybe that is true in that most sayings. I don't have any information to back up what I'm saying here, but I do think that most people want proactivity within those different quotes or sayings, right? You don't ever, I've never had a friend say that to me of be the target, Julia. What? No, I don't want to be the target. And it exactly is as she said it. She was saying, be the target, because it is a lot like the quote, if you don't stand for something, you stand for nothing. So in this case, being a target is good. It is that the arrows are going to come. They're always going to come. You're always going to have dissent. But the reason why there is dissent, there are controversies, and there are arguments, are because you have a target. You are doing something. You are moving and changing and morphing in your life. And therein, that doesn't make you invisible. You're not a wallflower. If you're making all these different changes in your life, there's always going to be somebody that says, oh, I don't know. I don't like what you're doing. There's always going to be somebody out there that doesn't like what you're doing. And so, yeah, drawing fire to grow is always going to be there. If you have a target, if you're proactive in your life, there's always going to be somebody that doesn't like that. And she wrote, own it. And I really love that she wrote that, because it's about, and that's why I wanted to start with this on the channel, because it's a lot about own your individuality, own what you're doing, own who you are, own that you love pastel tie-dye, or maybe you don't. Maybe you love Fallout video game. If anybody loves Fallout and sees the posters behind me, those are the Tesla magazines from Fallout video game. Be yourself, and just know that there's always going to be arrows coming if you are an individual and you aren't a wallflower and you do stand for something in your life. So it makes sense for me to lead with this because this is my first YouTube video ever in the history of my life. So there you have it. And to go back to what I mentioned before, I am looking at a house, and the context of this is that she said that to me, and let me repeat the saying, actually. The arrow doesn't find the target is still and draws the arrow. So people, and even myself, might not, I mean, I'm safe where I am right now. And when you move, being single, and female, like having a home, I mean, I'm in Texas, so, I can pack heat, but it's still, I'm going from my nest, right? And I'm looking for a new place, and it won't be familiar to me, right? Likely, it won't be a familiar place for me to be. It'll be a new environment, new situation, new place to put down my roots, right? And that's scary, but she was trying to give me encouragement that as long as you're making moves like that, like looking at a new home, like you gotta move forward, even if people are gonna make you feel uneasy about it, or make you insecure about it, or make you feel, or even yourself making you feel like, oh, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't, like, just, I know that if I did not look into having a house, because you can have a home anywhere, right? You can make a home out of grass, like, but, I would regret not looking into potentially owning a house in my life. That is something that I would regret. So she was trying to encourage me and saying, as long as you're a target, as long as you're making moves, you're going to be a target. So, and just get familiar with that, I guess, because it's always going to come. And yeah, so individuality, I think, is a theme around this particular saying. And I don't know, have y'all heard this before? Because I had not ever heard that. It's coming from either a Archer's Paradox. I saw Matthew McConaughey wrote a tweet on that before around this particular concept. So I know it has legs. I know it's a particular saying that's said. Is this the like description of the saying that you've heard in your life? I would be so interested in hearing about this because, from other people that enjoy sayings, I would just love to hear it. So please share in the comments if you do have any type of thoughts here or there about this particular saying. And yeah, thank you so much for watching my video, my very first video here. So have a good one.